All right. Well, Mr. Kevin White is he's in the School of Earth and Space Exploration at ASU, doing research on chiral molecules, which are mirror images of each other, and how a biosphere that flips this mirror would interact with our own. He aims for the next school year to continue this research and apply their predictions to systems like that of TRAPPIST-1. He loves film, music, and animals, and if he wasn't an astrobiology major, he'd either be a biological anthropology or sociology major. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin White.
Hi everyone. Thanks for staying. I know it's really hot. So I'm an astrobio major, and my research is very much not applicable to your daily life at the moment, and that's something that I really want to talk about, because people often talk about science in terms of how we can apply it. Questions are often asked: what benefit will we get out of doing this research? Will it help me live longer? Will it create jobs? And those are important questions to ask, but it shows an expectation for the benefits to be immediate, that if I can't see how we'll benefit from it in a clear-cut way, we shouldn't be funding it. That money could go to something more immediate and clear-cut to me. And it misses a fundamental point about science. Science is not just applied science, it's also pure research, knowing for the sake of knowing. In fact, without pure research, you cannot have applied science. If you told physicists back in the early 1900s to not care about relativity and quantum mechanics because you couldn't see where such exotic physics would be, where would we be today? You wouldn't have GPS, you wouldn't have computers that you can carry in your backpack, you wouldn't have your phone, you wouldn't have the internet. To fully understand climate change and make efficient solar panels, you need to understand the quantum nature of molecules and atoms and how they interact with light. You need both theories to generate power with nuclear reactors, and that's totally not why Einstein or Schrödinger and others developed these theories. They did it for the sake of knowing. If they had thought, well, right now I don't see how this will apply to technology, we might not have everything we take for granted now, everything that gets us through our day. You can't predict every possible effect of your research, and sometimes pure research can change the world. And it doesn't just change the world technologically, it changes it culturally. Science is deep in the building blocks of many cultures and is an expression of the human condition, just like the arts and humanities. It is our willingness and ability to question the world around us in all its facets, to look up at the sky and wonder how we fit in. It's our way of looking in the mirror and wondering who we are, and the reflection we see changes who we are. If we're not willing to do that, what will we do when we see any ugliness in the mirror? What does it say about how we will respond to the darkness if we choose to no longer look at the stars? Perhaps the best example of the driving force of science is astronomy. In 1500s Italy, a monk named Giordano Bruno felt that what the Catholic Church taught the masses about the universe wasn't right. To them, the universe revolved around the earth. Everything in the sky was perfect and unchanging, and it was all divided between hell, heaven, and a painted sphere that the solar system resided in. Earth was the only world with life, and God was a distinct entity who lived in heaven. Giordano Bruno said that the universe was infinite, that there were worlds that harbored life just as beautiful as our own, and that God was the universe, because to him, God was beautiful, and the universe could only be as beautiful as it was if God was everywhere. And he supported Copernicus's heliocentric model. After being jailed for years and refusing to repent, he was burned at the stake for his heresy. Then came along Galileo and his telescope, and he saw that the moon was cratered, and that Venus had phases much like the moon, but that it changed in size through those phases, which is not possible if it orbits around the Earth. He saw that the sun had changing spots on its surface, and that Jupiter had 4 bright objects revolving around it, not the Earth. When he looked out into the Milky Way, he saw star clusters, and he knew the universe was much bigger than the Church claimed. He could see the change in depth between stars, and that no painted spheres existed. And he too was jailed for heliocentrism and defying Pope Urban VIII's wishes. But his influence in the ensuing decades would change Western culture forever. It fought against an oppressive regime that kept the masses ignorant and unwilling to question. It fundamentally changed the communication between science, religion, and culture. A regime that murdered to keep its power was fought through this work. People ignored a comet in the sky in the 1200s and a supernova that the rest of the world saw and documented because they thought the universe was unchanging. That's the power of ignorance. There's absolutely no way that they could have missed either of those events. But that all changed after Copernicus, Giordano Bruno, and Galileo. Without them, Isaac Newton would not have invented calculus, which radically changed physics, and we wouldn't have come to our senses if we hadn't come to our senses and realized that the Earth revolved around the sun. And without that, we'd be nowhere near where we are today. And it's not just astronomy that's changed the world. Women, and sometimes men, were burned, hanged, and drowned on suspicion of being a witch. Those accusations arose when there was bad weather or when people in their towns were sick. They didn't know that bacteria and viruses existed and that weather changed naturally, not as the result of a pact with Satan. Germ theory and basic meteorology, however, changed that. It can be that simple. We can coordinate events like this. We can instantly talk to family across the country and not grow distant. We can stop polluting our air. We can land people on the moon. We can test gene therapy and end genetic disorders. We can use stem cells to help people who are paralyzed walk again. People are no longer burned at the stake for questioning the church, and women are no longer drowned or tortured when the town has a bug passing around. That's the power of knowing for the sake of knowing, and that is the power of pure research.